motion to approve. Someone, do I have a second? Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any against? All right, Dutchess County Boces Spotlight, just there for your reading entertainment. Any comments or questions? All right. That was sections A, B, and C of the agenda. All right, so first thing on the presentation is a presidential award for excellence in mathematics. Laura, do you want to?
I think teacher, did you want to come up and
Sure.
present?
Where would you like me?
Yeah.
Everyone, it's nice to see such familiar faces and some new faces. I'm here tonight representing Dutchess County. I am the Dutchess County legislator for this district, which encompasses the Millbrook Central School District. For those of you who don't know, I've served on this board, on your board, through 2018. So I know from your perspective, the impact excellence in education has on the school board, on the school community, on students, and the larger community at abroad. So I'm pleased to be here tonight to recognize one of your staff members, Miss Leslie Anson, who's here. Leslie, do you want to come up? Has been awarded the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching. There's only 117 of these awards given nationwide, and there were only 2 given in New York State, and one of them was given to Ms. Anson. So it's quite an accomplishment, and to see her passion and be rewarded for it is quite something to be very proud of. And it's evidenced by the fact that she was nominated by her colleagues. So to me, that tells me that she's appreciated in the building that she works at, and that even her colleagues see in her her passion for teaching. The process was a 1-year application. It was a rigorous process. She had to film a live educational parcel and be judged on it, all during COVID. So Leslie Anson is an 11-year alum of teaching here, but she was also a product of Millbrook Central School Districts, where she attended throughout her career. So I just think on behalf of Dutchess County, I know that Leslie Anson's successes are her student successes, and her student successes are the successes of our full community. So I think it's really, really important that we highlight this and come forward to welcome her and appreciate her. She has also been awarded from the National Science Foundation a $10,000 classroom fund, and I believe you can use it for anything in your classroom.
As of right now, that's how I understand it. There hasn't been a lot of details on that. But.
So I'm here on behalf of Dutchess County, as I said, and we have a commendation for her, thanking her for all her hard work on behalf of all the residents of Dutchess County to thank her. And I would just like to end by a quote, since it is the presidential award. When President Biden gave the award, he quoted the following: "The dedication of these individuals and organizations have demonstrated to prepare students for careers in STEM fields during what has been a difficult time for teachers, students, and families, plays a huge role in American innovation and competitiveness." He goes on to say, "The work that teachers and mentors do ensures that all our nation's children are able to unlock for themselves and all of us a world of possibilities." So I just wanted to come in and congratulate her on behalf of everyone in Dutchess County on a job well done.
Leslie, we require like 20 minutes.
No.
You have no idea how this and the next presentation sort of make our life. I mean, especially the last 3 years of just trying to get through everything, and then finally getting our teachers recognized, getting, you know, awards for our school, winning states. I heard, I don't know, is that true? I mean, it just makes this job so much easier. So thank you, Leslie. All right, next one is the Dutchess County Junior High All County Festival Awards.
Dan's gonna come up and speak to us.
there you go.
and-
Sure.
and Leander.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having the music department here so we can recognize students that went to the Junior High All County Festival this past January. And just a little bit of background, this is something that students are chosen for throughout the county, and we were represented by 8 students in band and chorus. And they auditioned to be in the ensembles, and they were accepted, of course. They did their rehearsals and got ready for their concert, and as Mother Nature would have it, we got snowed out twice. And for the first time ever, the concert was actually canceled. So we wanted to find a way to recognize them in a formal way, because all of their efforts, from auditioning to practicing really hard to going to the actual rehearsals, shouldn't go to waste. All of that effort was there, and mastery of their craft, and we are very, very proud. So when I call your name, if you could come up, and I think we're going to start with chorus.
Great. Lucia Curcio. LaShawn.
And for band, we have Amber County. Julia Hogenkamp. Jonah Amadeo. Dave Moriello. James Cohan. We were hoping the students would speak a little bit tonight too, and they just told me they would love to speak as a group, so I'm going to invite you all to stand up and come out here. And they'll tell you a little bit about their experience and what music means to them.
Since we started the music program in 4th grade, I think we can all say that it's been a really enriching program and has allowed a lot of us with some new opportunities. We've gone to NISMA and All County, and it just allowed us to pursue a lot of outside interests in a really enriching way. We've had some really great teachers along the way to help us with that process. Even though the entire All County was canceled, the experience was really great. So we could play with other people from different schools and to have that opportunity was amazing.
Along with what Julia said, we met a lot of interesting people there, and we created new relationships and new bonds with other people that we usually wouldn't get with without this experience.
More a lot, definitely. Yeah. I had a very fun time just it was very fun to see the concerts that were available, but at least I had that experience to learn those songs and
Very good. And to all of you, first of all, congratulations on everything you've done. The music program in Millbrook is, I know I might be slightly, slightly against it, or slightly not aligned with, perfect splits, but I love the music program at Millbrook. And when from, you guys said the 4th grade, I mean, even you see that first year concert and you go, my God, they're so good. And it's always been a fantastic program. And thank you guys for coming. And anytime you want to come in and set up and play for us, that'd be awesome. Seriously,
you up on that.
seriously, come,
I would love
bring
that,
it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can have a few conversations about face masks, and then we can hear some beautiful music. All right, thank you very much. All right. The next is Dutchess County Boces budget presentation.
I know. How do you feel, popular?
Can we run out and ask them to stay?
Thank you, guys. I don't think it's easier. All right.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. My name is Michael Starrett. I'm the Assistant Business Manager at Dutchess County Boces. A few folks told me I should probably start with a joke, but I saw in the paper that the girls basketball team won the state championship, so I'll just start with a congratulations. That's really congratulations on having the state champ. Again, thank you very much for your time. We certainly understand how valuable and precious your time is at these meetings. So we just wanted to give you really a high-level overview of our, primarily our administrative and our capital budgets. And we'll talk a little bit about the students that you have in our special education and our CTI programs as well. Behind you is a, so I just want to start with our board and our administration, our board president, Mr. Mike Reel, our vice president, Ralph Chiamento, our trustees, Thomas Hurley, Rick Keller Coffey, Rob Rubin, Gully Stanford, and Catherine Smythe. Nancy Malelli is our board clerk. From an administration perspective at the cabinet level, Jason B. Chatelik is our district superintendent, Jody DeLucia, our deputy superintendent, Nora Merritt, our executive director for HR, Matt Metzger, our school business official. Matt sends his regrets that he couldn't be here tonight. So we're stuck with me. Haas. First, I just wanted to lay out our budget and funding. So we have three major budget categories, just like we do in a school district. Our administrative budget, or our administrative COSA, which includes all Boces retiree health insurance expense, which I'll talk more about in just a little bit. Our capital and rental budget, our programs and services budget, which is primarily the COSAs that you might be familiar with, our cooperative services agreements. Talk a little bit at the very end about our return of surplus. We can't hold a fund balance. So unlike a school district where you can hold a certain amount of up to 4% of undesignated fund balance, at the end of every year, we close our books to zero. We return any additional revenues above our costs back to the districts based on their participation. And then OC state aid. We don't get state aid, but you do on the programs and services that you purchase. So again, I'll have one slide at the very end that just shows the return surplus under state aid that we project this year. If I'm going too fast or too slow, slow me down or speed me up. I did want to just talk about the administrative budget. There's two primary slices of the administrative budget. The first is what I like to call kind of our controllable administrative budget. And that includes our BOCES board, which isn't a lot of money. It's basically memberships that the board members may have in certain associations, and some conference and travel expense. So very minor dollar amount, but it is encapsulated in this budget. Our district superintendent and the secretary, and then our cabinet level administrators and teams, those individuals that I mentioned earlier. So if you look at the very bottom here, the number in red, year over year, budget to budget, we're projecting our I'll call it controllable, non-retiree administrative budget to be down almost 7%. And that's really important to us for some of the factors that you'll see in the coming slides. We're trying to be really frugal. We've had some attrition, like many of the districts have had. We're really trying to make sure that we try to consolidate tasks where we can and that we control our spending. The next piece is retiree health. And this may be a little bit different for those in the district. By law, we're required to hold all of our retiree health insurance or administrative COSA. When those folks work during their active careers, their insurance and their other related benefits are paid for through the COSAs in which they work. But immediately upon retirement, when they're eligible, if they're eligible for retiree health insurance, we have to shift that cost into our administrative COSA. So you see here, that's almost a $5 million, a little bit over a $5 million line item within our budget. It's over 70% of the overall administrative budget. So you can see here how sensitive we are to increases in any of the health insurance premiums. any of the health insurance premium increases that we might see through the Dutchess Educational Health Insurance Cooperative, of which we're a member. So in years in which there's large increases, it's obviously a direct hit to this administrative budget, which is the one budget that you guys have to vote on. Everything else, other than our capital and rental, which I'll talk about here in just a second, you can decide to purchase or not. This is the one that you have to vote on and ultimately gets allocated to you based on methodology that I'll talk about in a second. When I put both pieces of that budget together, you see the minus almost 7%, the 1.7 for the retiree health benefits. Our budget, our administrative budget in total is going to be down almost 1%. So we're trying to be really sensitive to what you're going through in the districts. So once we have the cost side of that established, similar to what you do in a district where you look at your budget, then you look at your sources of revenue, your state aid, your other sources of revenue, and then your tax levy cap, which is kind of what makes up the remaining source of funding by that tax cap, the tax levy cap. Our two primary sources of funding, since we don't have taxes or state aid, are district contributions from the districts, and that's allocated based on our water. I'll talk about that in just a second. And then other sources of revenue. This is your traditional interest income, insurance recoveries, things like that. If you look at the very bottom line, just above the yellow there, it says other revenue and retiree health offset. So for us, a handful of years ago, the state comptroller and our auditors came back and said, you really should hold no more than 1 year of retiree health insurance liability into the future. Many Boces were trying to accrue funds to pay future liabilities because retirees, you hope they're going to live a nice long life and you have to pay those benefits until the duration of their living years. So districts would accrue some funds to be able to pay those future liabilities. Auditors came back and said you can hold no more than 1 year. So in that year, just so happens that DHIC had a premium increase of almost 16%. So we took some of that money and was really strategic about how we did it, and we applied it against the administrative budget to help control that component cost in that year. In doing that, we then planned out over a number of years to reduce that amount such that we ultimately got it down to 1 year of funding. That's where you see the large decrease, 2.1 million out of 1.7. The remaining amount obviously has to come from the billing to our component. Once we've identified how much we have to bill the districts, it then gets allocated based on our WADA. And for those that aren't familiar, our WADA is residential weighted average daily attendance. It's kind of a fancy way of essentially saying enrollment. There are a couple of weighting factors there for high school age kids get weighted a little bit differently, but in essence, it's your enrollment. And I've highlighted your district. You see last year your WADA, this current year that you're in, your WADA is 951 going down to 924. So you're down about 27 kids, which is actually a little bit better than the average across the county. So see almost every district in the county, other than Spokane, is actually down in enrollment. So that kind of sets the allocation methodology. And you see there that your share of that is about a $10,000 increase. That's the administrative budget. The other piece that I want to talk tonight a little bit about was the capital and rental budget. The costs that are borne in this COSR are for our Boces rent. These facilities, the lion's share of that is the facility that we rent for our alternative high school over 144 for our alternative ed high school age kids. With our capital project, we're building a facility on our main campus. We'll be able to move those students over. So that line item, you see that drops substantially year over year and will ultimately go away when we look at this into 2023.
So you still plan on being out of there for the full year?
Yeah, we're hoping to have the kids in September. That's the plan now. All the construction schedules get us out. We do have a contract on that through the end of December. We're actually hoping that everything can be out. We can work with the landlord to be out early. And I talked a little bit earlier about how surplus goes back. If we're able to do that, that money will ultimately go back to.
But this number reflects being out September for really July 1st.
Exactly right. You see the transfer amount that goes up from 150 to 600,000. We had about a $600,000 transfer each year. That's for minor capital repairs. That's for doors, windows, small roof repair, things of that nature that happen kind of as a matter of course. It's kind of outside your O&M, your typical O&M budget. But things like that need to get upgraded on the facility to try to maintain the facility that you'd be proud to send your kids to. that isn't the large capital project that we're going through now.
But this, I mean, we have, in the district, there's always, every year we can do, I think it's 100 and a 175, 150 project without going to the voters. Do you guys do the same thing under this tab or
Yeah, we
is
wouldn't
this?
have to go to the voters unless it's a new addition. So if it's just a replacement or refurbishment of something, we had to build an additional facility onto our CTI building. That's why we went out for a vote. So in total, this budget up about up exactly 4.58%. The same allocation methodology holds here. We use the Arvada over the total. And your share of that is at $3,600. Again, if I'm going too fast, I apologize. I want to make sure you have time for the rest of your agenda. If he wants to hear me drone on. So with that, I'd be remiss if I didn't come to a school and didn't share with you some information about the students that you actually send to Boces. So we just wanted to highlight the number of special ed, alternative ed students that you have, which programs they're in, and the CTI or Career Technical Institute program. I'll turn it over to Mr. Chappelle.
Good to see everybody. I'm hoping Mike started out with this, told him too,
Nice,
in the
man.
spring. This was his hook.
All directions go.
Yes, check. So we broke down everybody's participation in the programming, including Millbrook. So some of the things that will impact your students directly, right off the bat, our beta school, obviously, as we just mentioned, is going on to one campus, which will be our theme moving forward, a one campus theme. With that, they're also transitioning to a restorative justice model. They also are transitioning to more CTI opportunities for students. So right now we're looking for a minimum of 50% of those students to participate in CTI, and that number will increase as part of my superintendent goals over the next 3 years. We already sort of do that kind of program. We do bus some kids over there, but it's about 10%. So we really want to get that number a lot higher, and being on one campus will allow that. And then we're lucky enough to be approved to be part of the New York State Education's Arts Pathway Initiative. So as you know, and I sit on the committee for the state, we are trying different pathways for students instead of just the test and go method. We want to differentiate the different pathways. Standardized testing is great if all kids are standardized. In my experience, every kid I meet is completely different. So we're trying to make the pathways different. So one of those pathways that just came out is the Arts Initiative. So we were lucky enough to get into that pilot along with 15, 16 other districts across the state. So Beta will participate in that program launching in September. And just taking a look at the students in certain programming, I know your students do take part in the automotive technology, and this is confidential. We don't want them to leave this room. Turn off the camera, please. I will be partnering with Toyota moving forward with this program and feeding their Toyota technician program. So we have partnered with Dutchess County Community College. We'll launch the Toyota 10 program either in September or the following September. And we're hoping to do the same thing with the Honda PAC program as well. So offering 2 different pipelines for our students. As well, we're partnering with Cobble Skill. For our Ag Science program. So we're going to make that an accredited program. Hopefully kids will be given that with anywhere from 3 to 6 to 9 to 15 credits. We're also hoping, knock on wood, to partner in a grant with them to bring a little more composting to the area. So we're looking to get an anaerobic composter with a nice little greenhouse in the back that would fit a nice anaerobic composting machine, and we're hoping to compost all the food within a 20-mile radius of the campus, which are the colleges, and the kids would strictly be running that, facilitating that program. As well as construction, as you know, we partner with Habitat for Humanity. And if you've read the news, they just got a $500 million grant from a very generous person. So that should be growing Habitat for Humanity in our area. Our kids will be working on site with Habitat for Humanity. They're also doing jobs around the Poughkeepsie area. All people do is give us a call, we put them on the list, and we send kids out to work on their property. Along with construction trades, we're also going with a heavy equipment operator program. So right now, if you've gone to our campus where they're doing construction, you'll see 1,000 heavy pieces of equipment. It will look almost exactly the same even when the construction companies leave, because we were nice enough, they were nice enough to start lending us equipment to run a heavy equipment operator program. So that's bulldozers, that's cranes, and you're talking jobs that are starting at $100,000 and more, depending on where you do those jobs. So that'll be starting in September as well. You have some cosmetology students, all new equipment for both of those salons right now. You're looking at in the 1970s kind of 1980s, which I have no problem with. 1980s, before your time, Mike. We still have my parachute pants, but we'll be upgrading all those. And also with our culinary, we are looking to get a food truck to make more of our programming portable. And I talked to Laura about this, so we really want to start bringing more programming to our components, whether that's via food truck, whether that's via a bus that we intend on getting, and then having our automotive kids strip that bus, and having our construction kids rebuild that bus and make it a STEM and career bus, where we can bring out to the districts and kids can do career exploration. We can bring a classroom or 2 classrooms at a time onto that bus. Kids will have computer stations as well as large TV screens, and they can learn about different careers. And we could also use virtual 3D education on them, where they can use the goggles and really get into certain careers that they're interested in, whether that's being a surgeon or whether that's being a welder. We can do a wide variety of careers with the new technology. So we're hoping to bring more programming to you, and also setting up more satellite locations around the area. We have different populations. We also did a lot of surveys, a lot of student cohort groups looking at Navion's data, and also a lot of superintendents, assistant superintendent data, just to figure out what were our biggest gaps. And it really seemed like that 5 to 8 range was a big gap that needed to be filled. So you'll see the multitude of services coming out for grades 5 through 8, whether that's panels, whether that's STEM education, whether that's career exploration. We're doing a wide variety of services, and we're again going to reinstitute the CTI. I think it's 2 days we bring the mid-school kids out to the campus during the summer, so kids can get a better understanding of what careers are out there and take a look at the new building that we have going on. As well as that, we've been trying to strengthen our partnerships, because that was part of the surveys we put out there. One of those partnerships is with a company called Grid Market. So we're hoping to take the campus off the grid. So good luck finding us. We will not be able to. We will leave no footprint. We're hoping to be energy self-sufficient. And if we can get that model up and going, then we plan on sharing that model with our component districts, so you can actually come in and see how it works and what the expense is and what the cost is. We're looking at a no-cost, all-in energy sufficient campus. Because right now there are many industries that are willing to come into public industry and take some of those costs or take some of those savings, just like you do with a PPA for solar. You can do the exact same for windmills, battery, a wide variety of energy sources. So we're looking at that area. So I'm hoping to come back next year with this budget, and you'll see that our cost for energy has really dropped quite significantly. We're also bringing Junior Achievement on board. For those of you who don't know Junior Achievement, they're a nonprofit, been around for many years, and really work on kids on career exploration. So we're giving some space at our new facility, and they're going to set up real life career exploration. We'll have a bank set up, we'll have a loan officer, about 4 or 5 different kind of businesses that kids could actually walk into and see, wow, these are the jobs under that umbrella, and this is what these individuals do. We're also partnering with Lucky Horse Stables in this area, and we're going to bring a satellite location onto our campus. So that will start in September. We'll house about anywhere from 3 to 5 horses that our ag science kids will take care of, and then we'll also use for therapy for our Salt Point Center, as well as our beta students that will be on campus too. And we're doing a lot with Dutchess County. That's been a big push in my goal. Meaning we're going to take kids from our program and go over there. So we're working to get an early college program going where kids can come on and get an associate's degree or get at least a minimum of 30 credits that are that you can take anywhere. We're also working with them in an aviation mechanics program to use their new aviation setup over there. We have the curriculum already. We're ready to go with that, as well as mechatronics. So if you haven't been to Hudson County Valley College or Hudson Valley, they set up a Haas Mechatronics Center. If you're not familiar with Haas, you might be familiar with the race teams because they're huge in the race fields, but they're also huge in CNC and mechanics. So we'll be getting about 2 to 4 of the larger mechatronics machines in, CNC machines, and training students on that. And also that would take students right into the new Fishkill Center that Dutchess County Community is building, which will be even a more advanced mechatronics center where they'll be housing anywhere from 10 to 15 machines. And again, we talked about salary, we talked about occupations, we talked about jobs that are starting at 75 and go all the way up to $250,000, depending on what we do. And it's also probably the fastest growing field next 5 to 10 years. So we are trying to diversify, and promise Laura and 2 other soups about IB as well, that before I catch my last breath, IB will go through us. I will make them go through us, so you guys at least get some aid on that. And then we're also working on the mental health side. We're looking to house some transitional space at our campus, anywhere from 4 to 6 beds for kids, because what we've been seeing and talking to students, they will go to the hospital and then they'll be there for 6 hours. It will be a horrible experience, and they'll come out and next day they're thrown back into high school or thrown back into middle school. And they repeat that cycle on and on until they 8 to 9 hospital visits. We'd like the transitional space on our campus where once you're in the hospital, they can come to us and stay with us for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks with wraparound services. And then we could transition them back to school. And we could also obviously let them see opportunities that are out there, such as careers. So we're trying to work with the county around that, and we've got some pretty good support. So a few of the things we are doing, we are trying to be better listeners and trying to do these programs that will help meet Millbrook's needs as well as the other district's needs.
The last slide that I mentioned was just your return of surplus, which has already been paid based on your services that were purchased last year, and an estimate of your aid on services that you purchased. And you purchased not only last year, but also your administration. Total just under 800,000, which is about 30% of the overall cost. So we never want to sell our services based on aid, but the reality of it is it's a pretty good buck to go through Boces and cooperate with other districts. And ultimately get aid. This is my bad attempt at a Wordle. I know there are only 5 letters, but I was able to put that together. Just wanted to thank you for being here. Again, Matt. Wishes he could have been here. Certainly send questions through me or through Jason, Michael.Scarrett at PC Boces or Jason.
And we are advocating for you. So I'm in Albany every month, and we're trying to get more monies for career and technical education. And we don't believe any kid should be turned down because the district doesn't have enough money, or they have to steal from somewhere else to, we're not a big believer in that. So we've been working with all of the politicians there. It's been wonderful. Sue's around, wonderful. We're trying to pilot some projects where they're fully funded and see how that looks and see what response we get from our surrounding districts. So we're doing a lot on the advocacy side of the house.
Very good. Any questions? I mean, the only thing I would ask you guys is just keep trying to tie us in more and more in real time. As you make a step forward, I love the TCI program, or CTI, I should say. And I would really like to see us take more advantage of it. And I mean, we're starved for solar kids, and we're starved for pretty much everything right now. And if we can do more with TCI, that's great. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Laura, I'm going to leave some flyers here about
sustainability program.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, thank you.
Roll call, if you have any questions.
All right, so next our board, the president and vice president's report. I just wanted to put it out and it's in the minutes, but we have 3 seats that are coming up for election. The term is July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. If you're interested, you can reach out to Cheryl, or you can you print them off online?
No, I have them in the office.
So yeah, contact Cheryl. Deadlines are coming up, so if you're interested, please jump on it. Howard, do you have anything?
Nope, not tonight.
All right, superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. First, I want to start with shout outs and upcoming events. So let's start with the girls basketball team. Shout out to them. They defeated East Rochester on Saturday, 58-31. And then on Sunday, defeated Newark Valley 46-55. So that makes them the 2022 Class C state champions. Bravo, bravo. Exciting weekend.
Thank you for sending us those updates. That was great. If we couldn't be there to see the school board, that was great.
Yeah, it was
Thank
exciting,
you.
right? Didn't
Yeah.
you were there or you weren't? It was still exciting. And then more exciting news is our Model UN Club. They attended a 4-day conference in New York City, and they received the award of distinction for overall committee performance across delegations around the world. So this is very distinct. So another round of applause. Just a reminder, our drama club tickets for the high school production Grease are on sale. The days are April 1, 2, and 3. So hopefully you can get out there and see our performers in action. In Elm Drive, we have the pre-K and K registration. It continues. We're going to resume the work on the playground for the pre-K. And we also had more publishing parties down at Elm. First grade and kindergartners shared their all about writing with each other and celebrated with cupcakes, confetti poppers, red carpets, photos, and lots more. And I was there. I was honored to be there, and I learned about dogs, Bengal tigers, black widows, foxes, video games, and candy. So I'm now a wealth of information because of our students. In Alden, the Grace Smith House anti-bullying presentations, they were exceptional. They were class specific, so it wasn't a large assembly. It was for each class. I sat in on a couple of them, and it was just a great reminder, and also driving home about just being a good person, being kind to one another. Students received a kindness, those things that you can, what do they call it? Kindness catcher, thank you. And also made a pledge to speak up, reach out, and be a friend. There were also more publishing parties down at Alden. Students shared their literary essays with peers and staff. Their administrative team was down there as well. It was nice to see a few volunteers, students who got up, brave, and read their work and got lots of accolades and rounds of applause. And then the celebration was topped up with popcorn for all, of course. In middle school, there was the winter snowball dance, huge success. About 150, 160 students came out. It was just so nice to see them all just hanging out, dancing, chatting, eating pizza and other nutritious food. And also, again, the middle school is in its final stage of redesignation as an essential element school to watch. So lots of good things happening in each and every building of ours. And then a round of applause to our Principal Sotero and Supervisor of Data Analytics and Professional Development, Victoria Curry, for their recently published article called Using Social and Emotional Data to Promote a Positive School Culture. And I added the link, but I don't know if the link works on there, but I can send it to you if you haven't read it. and their successful presentation at the Data Analysis Technical Assistance Group Conference this past March. They're going to come at a future board meeting and talk about their work. And so look forward to that. Some other information, interviews for the business administrative position have been scheduled for tomorrow. So we have a team administrators who will be interviewing 3 candidates tomorrow. So we'll keep you posted on our progress. The first round of interviews for an instructional coach have been completed. So they're going to come to the final round, and that will be interviews conducted by Caroline and myself. We have received 3 letters of interest for the cook position. So we're going to schedule those interviews this week for next week. Our stimulus and Essa grants have been approved by New York State Education. And I want to say a special thank you to Caroline for your great work on those grants. They're not easy, and they're pushed back for many reasons, just for clarification or technical pieces. So it was an ongoing process, but they're done. So we will, as the board requested, to list the stimulus items that were in the grant, and we'll post them on the website. We'll let you know when that happens. Elliot, Kevin, John Mullins, and I had our kickoff meeting with BBC, our new architects and engineers. Oh, BBS, sorry. And thanks, Elliot. And you took them around with John for a walkthrough and oriented them as well, just sort of foundational meeting. And then the food services team and I have been meeting just due to shortages in that area. We've been working on our menus and staffing and ordering and paying the bills. And I just want to give them a shout out because they have really been great at pivoting and being flexible and resilient and making sure that we are consistent in our kitchens for our kids, and the nutritious food keeps coming out for our students, regardless of what's happening in the background. So kudos to them for that. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about the weekly health screener. We used to have it at a daily, and then we pulled back as a weekly, sort of just to continue that mitigation, but wondering if it has any use at this time. We've sort of been shedding all of this, these things, but it makes sense, of course, strategically. And right now, in conversation with our nurses and administrative team, the recommendation is to pull it unless, at some point we have to bring it back for whatever reason. But, so I didn't know how the board felt about that. Pull it?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have numbers so if we say, we should have something to set expectations, like if we have 5 kids or 10% increase or some number, then the first thing we're going to do is put back the screener. If that goes to 15%, we're going to go to everybody's back in mass. And if we're at 40%, or not, maybe we're never going back to remote unless, it's class by class. We should set up.
Those were the metrics that we were asking for the governor and for the Department of Health to set, right? So that's really what the letter was, and how'd that go?
How'd that go? You got that.
I believe there's a metric somewhere.
I mean, we should just so that people understand that, if they're sending their kids in sick, it could, trip this thing up and we end up back with face masks on for a period of time. So we don't need to do it tonight, but I'll put it out to the rest of the board. I think we need to have something that sets people's expectations. If things go the wrong way, this is what might happen.
I agree, even regardless of COVID. Have you tracked, you must have some baseline data prior to COVID when there was no screening. How often during maybe the winter, how many calls home to come pick your kid up, right? Due to a fever or symptoms, not even COVID. And maybe looking at within the past month, we've had one case of COVID, but with the screener, has the screener helped just parents not send their kid into school sick, right? So It doesn't have to be even necessarily just COVID, just, you know,
Flu
so
season.
has it helped? And I'm for remove it, see what happens.
Does anybody have a problem with getting rid of it?
Right, thanks. That's all I have to report. Those items that I didn't address are in my report. So if you have any questions, let me know.
All right, Kevin? Budget discussion?
How the time flies, we had so much fun.
I know.
We didn't win a state championship, but I believe this is our 5th budget presentation.
Hey,
There's a championship somewhere.
Yeah.
did-
It's, So for you who don't have your laptops,
This is great, thank you.
we have a printout for you. So when we started, we began with a budget development calendar. Those who haven't had the opportunity to be a part of some of our budget discussions, we always kind of start with reminding people that in putting the budget together, we're looking to try to keep our mission statements in mind, trying students to deal effectively with the challenges of an ever-changing society by helping them to become critical thinkers, decision makers, and problem solvers. Time's getting closer and closer. Our annual budget vote is the 3rd Tuesday in May. It will be held on May 17th, between 12 noon and 9 p.m. at the middle school auditorium. So we look forward to it. Meeting with various people, the superintendent, administrative with others, we came up with this budget objective. So I have to say the superintendent, she really defined our budget objective. So we're looking to make sure that our program meets the needs of all our students, consideration of social and emotional needs of our students and staff, support professional development, learning and growth, and address the facility needs and support capital projects. And that's going to be the main focus of our discussion today. Support the goals of the Board of Education, and also try to be fiscally responsible in improving compliance and property tax.
So Kevin, has any of this stuff up, till we get to the actual, numbers, has any of this changed since the last time we saw it?
Not dramatically, no. Anything you like, we can cut to the sections.
Yeah, I mean,
I tried to prepare the same information. We never was going to come up with this.
yeah, no, it's just difficult to, as we're going through these, even if you could leave these in markup, if you're gonna, like, if now you took this thing and you changed something in it, just leave it in markup so we could see it. All right. But anyway, yeah, we can just skip to the.
As we went through the process, we looked at the 3 main components: the administrative, the program, and this portion of the capital component of our budget development process. And with that, we're fortunate to have our assistant superintendent who oversees our facilities. So we're kind of focusing on his direction and his programs at this particular point. So we're looking at the operational plans, and in the budget, you're going to find your non-instructional salaries for all the people associated with cleaning, maintaining the buildings, repairing the buildings and grounds, and making improvements for our also putting in provisions for making sure that we're in compliance, and looking at various things like athletic fields, or facilities and grounds, looking at our plumbing, electrical or HVAC, taking into consideration fuel to heat our buildings, warm for students, as well as those things like garbage removal, snow removal, pest control, PA systems, elevator inspections, security, fire alarms. All the things that a lot of people really don't give much thought to. They see a building, but they don't realize the amount of work and effort and the things that we have to maintain and make sure we're safe for students coming on a regular basis. We also participate with Boces and some of the safety risk programs, along with doing some minor repairs, security system, lightings, auditoriums, stage improvements, heating and ventilation systems. And a lot of it's coming from the building efficiency survey repairs periodically, give you an insight, correct? Give a condition survey done, we try to look at those things, make sure our buildings are safe and put money towards those. It's also very important when looking at long-range planning for capital projects. So these are things that are very important that we budget for on a regular basis. We also have essential services, things that, again, most people won't take into consideration, like insurance, making sure our buildings are insured in case of need of repair, something happens, a roof damage, or which recently happened to us not too long ago. We had some water damage and looking to try to recover as much as we can through the insurance, which protects our buildings. And also looking at building controls and all the different types of things, and trying to make minor repairs like stage riggings, glass replacement on windows that may break from time to time, or we have to have some maintenance and work done on it. So we're constantly having the facilities department looking at our buildings, making sure they're safe for our students, and that's part of the budget process. We also have in here a central premium mailing, and that deals with things like postage and all the mailings that go out, whether it's business related or if it's something as far as like a newsletter or something, or a budget development sheet that's sent out to the public. We mail those things, so there's cost of postage and everyday activities like any other business that we have to take into consideration. So looking at those things, they're very important. Most people don't consider them as part of the educational program, but they are very important. So our students have a safe place to come and learn. And even people that came in here today and made this available for us to have our program here tonight. Very important cost. So I thank all those individuals.
So just like an overall question. We know that the maintenance has been not very good for a while, and there's a lot of work to do that you guys have identified. Are those numbers rolled into this? I mean, are they?
Some of them are, and then some of them are on a long range, which I don't want to take anybody's presentation away, but that's part of looking at a capital project also.
You know, I meant
some things
like
you may
just,
not be able to do as part of routine maintenance on a
Okay.
regular, like, leaky roofs. So that might be something you do at a bigger capital project. Expanding certain sections for program enhancements. That's not something you're gonna be able to do within a budget, but minor things like plumbing, HVAC, electrical, minor things which you wouldn't be able to rewire a building or put technology.
No, I was more interested in, preventative maintenance hasn't been done correctly or on a correct schedule for years. And we've got, it's obvious, I mean, in the last, I don't know, year, stuff just keeps breaking, and it's breaking because we weren't maintaining it. So do we think we have the money, because, and I know you can't really, there's no crystal ball that says this is all the stuff that's gonna break. But do we think we've got the money in here to deal with the level of problems we've been having in the past 6 months?
So
Go ahead.
when I met with Kevin and Laura, we discussed adjusting next year's budget relative to what this year's numbers look like and our needs that came up unexpectedly, and whatever we could project for next year. To Kevin's point, we are looking at next year as sort of next year and even the year that follows us as a stopgap to capital renovation, right?
Yeah.
So we did request certain codes to be increased along those lines, and I think Kevin's working very hard to identify how much he can accommodate those requests as we put together the budget within the parameters given.
Okay.
So we're taking the perspective to try to use this multi-layer type of process. No, everything won't be done within 1 year, but working with facilities planning and the people, we're starting to identify things and making them prioritizing those things and working in that direction. So looking at overall, yes, there are some increases because we are looking to make some improvements, even with building security, upgrading some security management and video systems, I believe with cameras to monitor the security of our buildings and things that are going on around there. Trying to bring us back into a higher level of success in the programs.
And you said the oil consumption is in these numbers?
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, we all have sticker shock, and we're hoping that doesn't go on for much longer. But the realization is, when those things happen, you have to make your adjustments, and unfortunately, some things may not be right. And for example, in some good cases, you don't have, you have a mild winter, and you put money for snow plowing and salt, and if you don't use all that money, you can reinvest it into your fuel consumption, and that'll give you some help there too. Because again, we're looking at a budget that starts July 1 and goes to June 30th, 2023. That's like 17 months ahead of time. So we try to look at history. We're not always there, but we try to do the best we can. And when we have to, pivot and make some adjustments, we're happy to try to do those things. So looking also within the capital component is your debt service and interfund transfers. Your debt service, that's to do with your outstanding bond issues, and those are reflected in the budget. An energy performance contract, which is looking to mature in November of 2026, along with some interfund transfers to the capital fund. And I believe that's what was referenced a little bit earlier in the other meetings. Typically, we have $275,000 that's put in there for those kinds of capital outlay programs. Now, one of the things that I'm looking into proposing, this board has also been interested in a debt service, repair reserve. We're looking, because we're talking about the possibility of a capital project, putting $100,000 into a repair reserve starting on July 1st. But that would mean instead of doing $275,000, we do $175,000 for capital outlay. And the concept being that in 2 years you're going to move forward with a capital project. You don't have to put the money into the outlay, the capital outlay. You can start putting that money into a capital project to help pay for its costs. Just doing the same amount of work, but a little bit. And also addressing what I heard from the board was the establishment, or at least we've established back in June of 2020, but now starting to fund the repair reserve. So that money's out there for other unexpected possibilities. So we're going to have a little bit more of a conversation on that, because Elliott has there's a couple of projects that are going on right now with security vestibules, and looking at trying to get some better pricing and trying to make some decisions based on what we can and can't do. Is that correct?
I'm going to talk about that now.
You tell me.
Yeah, it seems like a nice segue.
Right. Okay, so just to update the board and anybody watching at home, we have 2 secure vestibule projects in progress for an asterisk, right? Because we haven't started physical work at Elm Drive. We've substantially completed physical work at the high school. Both projects are still out there. Both came in over the anticipated budget from when they were authorized originally. So right now we're looking at a balance of work of about just under 70,000 for what the high school's original intent was, and some other work that was never really included in the original scope that could improve the quality of the vestibule. Elm Drive came in significantly over the $175,000 authorization. And so our architects have made 2 recommendations to complete those projects in parallel. And basically, what they're asking us to do is the architects are asking us to go out for a $100,000 capital outlay project as a phase 2 of sorts of the high school project, which would take the $70,000 balance of work and give us a little bit of flexibility for some additional mechanical and electrical work in that space. And also another $175,000 towards Elm Drive. If you remember, the construction estimate of that work was just north of $280,000. So with soft costs included, they're thinking that that total 175, so 350 would give us the completed Elm Drive project, and the additional 80 to 100 would give us the completed high school project. Our lead architect from BCA spoke with State Education Department, who said that we could combine, revise our financial form FPF submission to bundle the 175 from 2021, 2022, and next year, put them together for this one project. We would be able to bid that project in advance of the May referendum. Assuming we get a positive vote, we can then award the contract, and if we don't have a positive vote, we make different choices. But that's basically their suggestion. So they're suggesting to us, you put in 275 last year for this year for these 2 projects. They both came in over budget. we can put another 275 in for both projects again and wrap them up over the course of this coming summer, ready for September.
So we would still have to put that out for a vote, right?
Well, they would be included in the general fund, the same way they were voted on the last year, they would be voted on this year, it would just be an additional.
Just part of the budget.
Right, part of the budget.
So
Okay,
what
so
we
they,
would do is, we wouldn't be able to show the $100,000 funding for the repair reserve, we would put the money into capital. Because right now, based on the budget, you're looking at a number of 210, that 210 includes $35,000 for the school lunch program.
so
So in the current year, we have 275, but the way the budget sits right now, there's only 175 because we're taking the other 100,000 and putting it to fund, we're disclosing to the public, we're going to fund a repair reserve. So you would have to make a choice, either go with a capital outlay project or go with the funding of a repair reserve. Is that understandable? Did I explain that properly?
I think so. I mean, we have to finish these vestibules. Right, I mean.
How far over budget did they go as a whole?
Hard to say. Like I said, the high school project was just under 70,000 for the things that were value engineered out. If you remember, the board authorized the change order deduct of about 11,000 just to get us under the 100. We came in at 108 or 107 originally. So, you know, we took some soft costs out. We completely reduced the scope, so the outside work was eliminated. The partition wall that separates ingress and egress is really what's the meat of the scope left over to divide who goes in and who goes out. Whether that wall goes full height to the ceiling or not depends on how we spend the rest of what could be that potential authorization in terms of moving sprinklers and discharge air vents and lighting. So there's some electrical and mechanical work that would be involved. So it would probably be almost the entirety of that authorization. At Elm Drive, I'm not as intimately familiar with the details, but I know that there was mechanical work, structural work, and site work that were all kind of inflating that cost, in addition to just the cost of raw materials, let alone labor. So they're figuring that out of that, what was supposed to be 175, it would be closer to 280 to 300.
So we had, because I'm losing it. We had a 100 and a 100K project and a 170K 75 project,
That's correct.
right? The 100K came in at what?
100K came in at, well, after they eliminated scope, it came in at 107 or 108 at the moment.
Okay. And the 175 came in at,
I don't think we even put it out to bid. I think that
so it's never been spent.
we haven't spent any of the 175.
Okay,
That-
all right.
The only thing that
So-
the only exposure we have on the 175 Elm Drive project is the soft cost of the architect for actually designing and planning, which is around $10,000.
So where's the 175 now? Just sitting in a budget line item?
Well, yes, it's sitting in the line item, but the architect is saying to move forward with that elm. He's got a number of about $350,000.
Right,
So you take 175 the
from
current
last year.
Well, I'm saying the current. because we're
Yeah,
currently in this year, but it's not.
Right,
Okay, and then starting July 1, you take another 175. That total would be 350 is what they're projecting the cost to be for that program.
so it would be, so originally, how did, well, there's a bunch of, so we take the 175 and finish that one. The 100 project is basically done or will be done? I mean, that money's already spent.
That needs additional work.
Yeah, didn't you say that needs another 100?
Well, so right now it's short. Remember, they were supposed to do sidewalk ramps and curb cuts. That came in at a $43,000 expense. So we said we're not doing that. The other work that was value engineered out was the dividing wall within the vestibule. That just for the wall was $14,000. And so they would combine the 14 and the 43.5 with the related costs, and that's how they came up with that 69,000 number. So we can,
That's for everything.
yeah, so that's to do the curb cuts, the concrete work, the block wall, and then the things that I brought up kind of in the ninth inning, the mechanical stuff in the ceiling that would allow the wall to go all the way up, might eat up the other 10 to 15,000.
So we would have basically 30K to put into this repairs fund, right? It's about 30K left over.
I don't think you're gonna get anything.
Theoretically, what we could also do is we could not do the exterior work. They value that number at 43.5.
Isn't that a safety concern though, some of those things?
It is, I'm just.
Well, I hear you. I mean,
Dollar amounts, yeah, I'd love to do it all.
Yeah.
If anything, that could potentially be incorporated into a future bigger project.
Yeah. I'm just worried about the, you know, if we're supposed to do a 100K project and a 175K project. And we didn't do the 175, but now we're doing a 350. And, you know, should we have actually just, I don't know how we got from 175 to 350. I mean, that seems like, because in the past, all we've done is said, it's a 100K project, a 175K project, go forth and do it. And, you know.
Well, but
And-
part of the issue is you're looking at a year later with costs increasing, supply shortages,
But not double.
and a lot of double. That, you know, I think they're trying to be, I haven't spoken directly with them about this, but they're trying to give you a reasonable cost of $350,000. Now, if it comes in at 300, once you did that, that's really great to us. We're not gonna know that at this point. And, you know, if it comes in at 400, you may decide you don't wanna do that.
I mean, their construction costs alone are 300,500.
Wow.
So, the other thing that we can consider is, and we have to look into the logistics of how to make this happen, but we could pay the architects for designing the project and thank them very much. And, you know, knowing that there's other work potentially to do in Elm, maybe we revisit this and even maybe even redesign it. And as part of a larger scale project at Elm Drive, and then that money could be reallocated to the repair reserve, and we can finish the high school and kind of just deal with Elm another day.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to do say we're doing a 100K project and then realizing we got 10K over that we got to cover out of something. But to do a 175K project, you know, that we're taking forward and now it's 350 and we're not sure we can do it. I mean, to me, that's enough. I mean, if we did business that way, we say, well, for the next 3 years, we're not going to do any projects. We're going to put 275 away and then 275 away and 275 away, and then we'll just spend the whole thing on one project. That's just not the way we should be treating taxpayers' money, I don't think. So to me, again, this is just my opinion, is to just sit on that, finish the Elm Drive stuff, sit on what's left, put it in the.
But how far back does that put us now if we did that? Because, I mean, obviously it's important to get it done. But
How far back in one regard?
if we took your advice and kind of sat back on it, I mean, aren't we technically putting it out probably another year?
Probably two, realistically. If we go out for referendum vote, whether we do it next December or next May, that we're not putting a shovel in the ground till the following summer, perhaps, so.
Can we look at their original write-up and their current write-up to see where it went from 175 to 350?
I can, yeah, I can pull those
I'm
out.
just curious
Wasn't
to
their
see.
current one over 175 though? Didn't we know that we couldn't do
When
it?
they were here in the fall, they didn't say that they were projecting.
No, I knew that.
I just don't. I don't have Dutch.
And I know costs have gone up, but maybe 20%.
But it was always we could, you know, Mike would do a few things, we'd string a few wires over the wall and we'd cut a few $1,000s out of it. It was never, this thing is double what we thought it was gonna be.
Well, another way is to look at, I mean, we had other options too, as far as what we could have done. Not many, but there were a couple different.
Well, a different architectural firm may have a different concept of how to meet those needs, maybe in a different way, so.
Right.
We won't know until we get there.
Great. I agree with Perry's line of thinking. And also Chris's. We should finish, in my opinion, we should definitely finish up high school, and if necessary, and that's a board discussion. If necessary, we pay the architect and look at it for a redesign. That's the best use of our taxpayer funds.
Would the board like me to figure out what that would look like if we closed out the Elm project as is and close the books on it?
I agree.
I don't know, I would just say, look at it before just take a look at the two.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get the
So you
information.
can at least question it. If they say it is what it is, yeah, of course. I mean,
Yeah, and maybe you could come in with like sort of this stuff on a chart that says, here's the options we have. We can do this, and that finishes home. And then we take this money, put it over here, or we can do this. We can take the last 2 years and do this. Might squeak by, just so something we can see, and then hopefully agree to.
even if there's a stage one of them, that we could make it more secure without doing the full, adding a room and doing the, I know there probably isn't,
I
but
just
just,
don't know.
yeah.
I'll follow up and for the next board meeting. I'll have some information on what that will look like.
Great, thanks, Elliot.
The other portion is, after we look at the capital component, is what I'm calling a multi-part component, because it involves both administration, program, and capital, and that's the employee benefits. Now, these are benefits we are required to participate in by law. For example, we have the New York State local employees retirement system, the New York State teachers retirement system, and looking at some of those costs. For example, the teachers retirement system cost is going up 5%. Also, Social Security, not only does the employee pay a portion, the district also has matching a portion of that. So that's also reflected into our budget. All our employees have workers' compensation coverage, unemployment benefits for those as they actually occur, and the district health insurance, the DHIA consortium, and we're looking at overall increases of 5% for next year. And the reason for that is, you go back over a year ago, a lot of people were told a lot of elective surgeries, a lot of doctor appointments, dentist things was so minimized or weren't even happening. So now you have an onrush of people that are trying to make up for that lost time. Sometimes trying to get to a doctor's appointment, you get one in a couple of weeks, now you have to wait a couple of months to actually see your doctor. So there's a huge influx of people trying to get back on medications, trying to get back into good health. And even though we're part of a consortium, that increase is being limited at 5%. And we're looking at a cost of living increase that's up around 7% or even higher. So the consortium has done a lot of work to try to keep that as low as possible. And also, central already like according to the contractual agreements that the district has. So the next pages are really a breakdown of those line items within the budget and how they affect the overall. So at this point, we're still going to have some budget discussions and looking at some staffing levels for efficiencies. We'll be coming back to the board, I believe it's April 5th, and we'll give you an overall presentation of where we are in the budget in a whole, instead of going part by part, to let you know where we are. And hopefully within the next week or even a couple of days, we'll have some updated state aid numbers. So we'll look at it a little bit closer at our revenues, our projections, and what that effect will have on both our reserves and the property tax.
Jimmy, what caused the increase in the retirement incentive?
That's something that really wasn't budgeted very clearly before under the Teachers Association contract. There is a retirement incentive for some people, so they qualify for that. I believe we have 6 people retiring next year, to the best of my knowledge at this point. So they are entitled to an actual incentive for that retirement. So I thought it might be a good idea to reflect exactly what it's costing the school district instead of just throwing a number out there. Past maybe get 1 or 2 people, but I'm trying to be as transparent to that as we possibly can.
It's maybe we shouldn't have, but 6 people in 2022, 23.
For the next year, we're
Yeah.
retiring now.
By
By June 30th.
Oh,
The
yeah,
district-
yeah.
The district has to
Okay.
budget for that. They have like week from November 1st, next action.
Okay.
So that will be in next year's budget. And that's why. it's part of carryover.
Any other questions for Kevin?
Thank you very much.
Actually, no, thank you, Kevin. Oh, Cheryl, I should have, what are we gonna do with the audit subcommittee? Are we gonna do it before the
Yeah,
next board meeting?
yeah, I just sent out a new invite.
So that'll be at 6:30.
Same thing, yeah. You should all see a new invite.
Okay. So we have, do we need to vote on this tonight, this,
Yes,
Okay.
tonight's the last night. It's
And-
due tomorrow.
so we have two candidates that are before us. Honestly, there's two seats open and there, I mean, even if there wasn't, we could nominate 12 people for it. So this just sort of gives them the authorization to run for election. So do I have a motion to nominate Gully Stanford and Ralph Chimento? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Mr. Pimento, well, now we're open for discussion, but.
Yeah.
Did Mr. Pimento send us anything?
I don't believe so. That's why I was gonna say the same thing. I'd like to feed it back to Boces and whoever. I mean, I'm a little disappointed in the sort of effort that was put into this. I mean, we don't have to nominate two.
Right. Nominate up to two.
Right.
So my suggestion is that we nominate Gully and
Just
leave it
say,
at that.
and say they're, pass the word back that
Right.
we have no information on
No
him.
idea who he is.
It was requested.
It was, and I did let them know that you tabled it from the last meeting to this meeting because we didn't get information, so.
So are you guys, are you okay with pulling that back? And,
Yeah.
okay, so do you want to modify, do we have a modified motion of nominating Gully Stanford for the Board of Education, Dutchess, Boces Board of Education? Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, I mean, the comment, I think, is we need to feed it back to them that we asked for information about Mr. Chimento. We, we really don't feel confident or comfortable just blindly nominating somebody. So, all right. All in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, so do I have to do that or you?
Sure, we're all set. I'll do it, I'll send it.
All right. Let's see, oops. Financial, do I have a motion to adopt the financial reports, monthly warrants and budget transfers as presented?
Someone,
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Anything? All in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. The second reading of 43, where is it? 2342. Do I have a motion to accept as presented? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions?
just the one, I think we took out one word on the bottom that we shouldn't have. The very last paragraph, the district clerk shall ensure the agenda is, and then if everything else is crossed up, the public and is available, probably should be the agenda is released. I don't know if we need to get that technical.
No, it needs to be our policy.
Yeah, so it should read the district clerk shall ensure the agenda is released to the public, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or just is available to the public.
Yeah, I guess just the word, because right now it just says that the agenda is the public.
So do we
however
have,
it
This
is,
is
yeah, however
available.
I don't
so do we
that.
have I mean, is there anything else we could modify the motion to say the updated version, or we can just bring it back next board meeting?
Seems
I
like a
think
small
that's it.
change.
That's small.
To do the updated.
Okay,
David?
so do we we'll modify the motion to reference the updated agenda, updated policy? I don't know if do I have a motion for that, I guess? For a
I'll
second.
I'll second.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right, policy is done. Do we have any questions from the public? We do not. Wellness committee?
Yeah, so the agenda and then the meeting notes from the most recent wellness committee meeting are included for the board. There are some subcommittees that are working on child nutrition, mental health, physical health, advocacy, and also regarding health issues. So that information is there in the agenda for your review. If you have any questions, we do have 2 board members who are attending that meeting as well. Chris and Chris.
I'm just curious about the Hudson Valley Food Pantry. How does that work?
So they're actually intending to research that, but they're looking to do what is called a backpack initiative. So students who are dealing with food insecurity in their homes will be able to take shelf-stable food home with them on the weekends or like long breaks.
And this would come directly from the Hudson Valley Food Pantry?
Yeah, they would help to support us setting up actually a local pantry here, and then they would help us to stock it.
Nice.
Is that in lieu of like the meals that the kids get through our lunch program?
Yeah,
Or
it's
it's an
really
addition?
totally separate.
Oh,
from that.
okay.
Yeah, it's an addition
It's
to.
a totally separate initiative.
Okay,
Nicely done.
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. Let's see, District Technology Committee.
So our technology committee met on the 15th. We, with the help of all of our teachers at our last superintendent's conference day, our year-long work of really taking a first crack at the alignment of our computer science and digital fluency learning standards has been completed. We've got one more meeting left in the year in May. At that meeting, we're going to look at the possibility of surveying our staff and students for just kind of needs along those lines of digital fluency and accessibility to technology. We're also going to be working with our principals to complete our digital equity survey that's mandated by the state. We're just over 80% response rate for all of our students and families. It's really good for the region with the goal of 100%. So our building level staff is going to help us get the last push to complete all of that data and send it up to the state. We've also submitted the first draft of our updated technology plan for 22 to 25. It's a 3-year plan mandated by the state. It's currently under review at Boces. They're going to share it back with us, and I'm hoping to have their notes back in time to share their feedback with the technology committee in May, so we can button up our final submission before the end of June deadline.
Okay. Any questions for Elliot? All right, enrollment report. Just kind of a side thing. Does this line up with what they just showed from Boces?
Now, when I was wondering who they might be counting, they
Yeah.
might be counting Millbrook students who go to other programs as well. And they may also be counting students who with a clinical phase.
They had to
Well,
write
it's
a
just-
presentation to go through how it was calculated and where they pulled the numbers from.
Yeah, because I mean, I didn't want to say those don't look like our numbers, but they didn't look like our numbers. And you know, since that's how we get our money back, or I mean, if it's the wrong direction, don't say anything. But I mean, but I couldn't figure out where those numbers, because it just.
I believe what the gentleman said was it's a residential weighted average daily attendance. So
Right.
Your high school level opposed to your elementary school is more than just 1 point. I believe it's 1.5. So every high school student is weighted higher. So when you add all those up together, that's why you're getting into the 900 focus of it. So it's not a 1-for-1 weighting.
Okay.
Programs. So you're right, you don't have 951 students, but with that weighted average. That
I think we have, right, well, 839.
839.
How many are in the high school?
Tweak it is.
285 in high school. Did those ones.
So adding about 150 towards total amount. so-
Yeah, I guess that does explain it. And why, pre-K is still sitting at 26, but I thought
That's for this year. This is current right now.
oh, this is right now,
Yeah, we have 29 students fully registered. We have a couple others who need to complete packets just yet. And then we have advertised for faculty who live outside of the district that intend to bring their students for next year.
Okay. So we're still not 100% sure we're gonna have enough for the third one, or we're gonna start at like 12.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have enough. We're just going to have small class sizes to begin with. But again, we have a couple of families who have started the registration process, but they're not fully registered. So they're not right now.
I've heard something about that.
Caroline, do you know what incoming kindergartner numbers? look
Yeah,
like?
it was, I think the other day Michelle said like 48, but again,
You'll
those
get-
are fully
yeah.
registered.
Oh, you'll get into the 50s. for
Yeah,
sure.
that's fully registered, but it's,
Yeah.
there's a couple of people who still owe parts of their registration packet, so they're not.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, MEF report.
Sure. Just want to thank everyone who contributed to the annual appeal and Laura for sending that out to all the families. And just still save the date. People save the date for Taste to Go, modified Taste to Go, or I shouldn't say expanded Taste to Go compared to last year. First Saturday in June at the Millbrook Vineyards. So more to come, more details to come.
Good. PTO?
So there's something called the Flower Mother's Day fundraiser that's coming.
This is
I
new.
don't know anything about it. So doing a good job. That's not until May, I think, right?
Somewhere
There's
around-
also a
probably
new
around Mother's
ultimate, a new ultimate discount card coming in May. And PTO would like to tell everyone to check out the Facebook page for upcoming information. And there will be flyers going home to the elementary schools as well as emails to all 4 schools. So yeah, the Flower Mother's Day one, I don't think we've had before.
That
So
sounds
they're,
new.
yeah,
That
they're
sounds new.
trying to do, so like, we always have the Gertrude Hawk, we always have, certain ones that they have every year, but like they had the Charleston wrap one this year, so I think they're trying to, first of all, get out of all food, which, is good, because we can't buy all this candy. And so I think they're trying to come up with new and exciting ones, so that's why I think this is a new initiative, that's why I don't know all the details yet. Don't make fun of them.
Suspension incident report, is there for your reading, unless anyone has any questions on it?
I have a question.
I have a couple too. Go, you would go.
Do we not do a suspension report for the elementary schools? Because they're so young.
Yeah, we don't actually.
Well, that was one of my questions.
Oh.
There's not.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Not
So
that there
that's,
never is, but there's absolutely very much to report.
okay.
Right, but
Okay.
if someone was, is
We
that,
haven't included it.
We haven't had that.
And just along those lines, only because like I think there's a lot of emotions running very high with a lot of people and kids and everything. With, since there is no suspension report for elementary kids, hopefully because there aren't a lot of suspensions, is there any, and I don't know if this is appropriate here, like, not tracking, I don't want to use the word tracking, but if there's multiple incidents with certain children, because I do feel like with the pandemic, you know, things have come out, is there like a protocol, like if, you know, like Catherine is, you know, has 4 incidents in however long, like when does a phone call go home? There's like protocol for that in the elementary schools, right? Each principal has like, if the kid gets in trouble, one time they call the parent, is there something like that?
I mean, if the principal is calling the students, their office to talk to them about something, they should be on.
Okay.
I mean, to talk to them about something that they've done. Maybe they're-
Right, right.
Yeah, you want our parents to work, right? To try and change whatever behavior we're seeing that is not, you know.
Right, if the incidents do occur more frequently in the elementary school, like suspensions, should we include it in the report? Need to know that.
Well, the board would ask that it be done, you know, with the board. Now, I'm not saying it has to be as quote happens, should we be notified, because it's not a public record anyway, because it's listed under, what's it listed under? Executive content or administrative? Oh, it is public.
Yeah.
But it
It's
doesn't say.
Yeah, you're right.
Right, there's no names or anything, but
No,
Yeah.
just
well-
to see, you know, like, I'm just so worried about the kids today. You hear of, you know, and I'm not saying our school, you know, people, there's suicides, there's overdosing, there's all this stuff, and again, not that if you put it in a report and we know about it, is it gonna make a difference? If that's, you know, the right people in the right job get it, but I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, there's a couple things to think about. One is the data is sort of so high level, you really, what can you do with it? And then more specifically, what can and should the board do about it?
Right.
I mean, if, please don't take this wrong, but if it's gotten all the way up to us reading a report at a board meeting and we pick out that there's a problem in the kindergarten, something's wrong way
Right.
before that report gets to us.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why we couldn't have that information, but
And I'm not saying definitely do it or not, I just wanted to bring it up as a subject because of the way things.
But if every child matters, then if we're looking at this report, grade 6 through 12, then if there is some suspension with Elm and Alden,
yeah, but
then,
what are we gonna do with it? I mean, even with
I don't
this,
know.
to be honest.
well, sure,
That's sort of the
I
problem.
guess that was one of my
Really just see red
questions.
flags. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, do we need more, you know, psychologists in the school, is it?
Well, what, okay, so who compiles this, first of all? Is this you? Is it principals? What,
The buildings,
into a,
They send it
A
to me.
database.
They send it to me and then I do this.
and so who has seen this? Just the principals, do the lots of assumptions, like do the psychologists?
They send it to me and then for this presentation, but I'm assuming that they're having their own separate conversations within the building.
Yeah,
Okay.
most often, you know, depending on what type of behavior we're seeing, either guidance or brought in. The one thing I will say in terms of like where this becomes important is I know we've had a couple of discussions with our secondary principals about when we look to seek to revise the code of conduct this year, there's some things that we would like to see if we can make more mandatory. For example, when we're looking at students who are using substances that are taking or any other substances, the recommendations have been made to do, I forget the exact name of it, but it is counseling sessions with the Council for Addiction Prevention and Education for Dutchess County. And some parents are willing to have their child take advantage of that. So, you know, we can put supports in place, but if we don't, again, have the parent willing to allow that, we don't really have any recourse besides the plan. But it's not just about disciplining, right? It's about helping that student work through whatever it is. So I know that there are some conversations that we plan on having when we look at revision of code of conduct to try and help support more of the like restorative practices, more of, you know, helping students with whatever it is that they're dealing with that causes them maybe to bully or to act out or to turn to substances. So we're looking to do some more of that. And again, we're recognizing that too. And things like David.
Caroline, what's the, you mentioned it twice, and made me think about it. Where does vaping fall in this? Is it D6? Is it possessed drugs, alcohol, controlled substance? So we didn't have any vaping incidents in
Not
this.
in this.
That's surprising.
It is the shortest one. So, you know.
I'm just smoking.
Do we keep kind of like a, you know, we have this information, so it'd be easy to do, but just have like a line graph. Basically each month, because then as administration, you can look at it and say, wow, look at that increase that we're seeing over this year. I don't know. I mean, it looks like more than we've seen.
Yeah. There's no
Not a
doubt.
ton, but it looks like there's more. So, but it's hard to tell because we don't have anything to compare it to, but.
Yeah, and we can, I mean, I can certainly provide to you, working with the principals. I can provide to you the discipline reports, not really for the year that we were out for COVID, that wouldn't help you very much to compare anything. But we can
Even if
look,
it's
you
by
know, at
quarters.
trends over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And there's definitely an uptick in certain categories of behavior, you know, what we have done in the past is we've even looked at certain things, like certain periods of the day we're having, you know, instance in the cafeteria, whatever, so adding additional supervision. Or Thursdays were always a big day for some reason when I was in a larger school, so we actually had to like figure out what was going on Thursday. And it was a reality, like every Thursday there was like this fight. So yeah, if you, I mean, the data's all there, we can look at it a bunch of different ways and see.
Yeah, that would be great. My only other question, am I looking at this right? So there's 12 incidents here? Yeah. Are those 12 separate students? Or,
They could be repeat offenders, but that is by incident, that is not.
right, so this could be, it could, you know, theoretically be 2 students with 6. Okay, who's looking at that? I'm gonna make sure someone's looking at that.
We
Okay.
definitely are. We refer to our contract social worker, counselor regularly based on this. That can be part of a consequence. I think look at it like that. But when you meet with a student for discipline, you can ask to set up like meetings with the staff and the school support staff so they can do some of that work and, you know, really try to, again, not make that a punishment, but make it something where the student also has a positive attitude and
Yes.
so we try to offer it as like really some help with that. And some students are really receptive to it and some are not. And then we try to find other avenues.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just have to be careful not to start dragging ourselves into, you know, trying to figure out like each kid, because that's not our job. Our job
No,
is
no.
if they come to us and say, you know, I got 3 incidents of kids in the past 2 weeks, kids leaving campus without authorization. I'd really like to have another SRO positioned on Alden. That's, you know, how it should
Yeah.
come to us and
I
not
just
for
want to
us
make
to go
sure,
explore and-
as they're tracking, it's efficient. So instead of having to go back in and say, oh, is this the same kid? Or, I mean, it could be a way to do that. So that, you know, you're not obviously violating any HIPAA, but just another column.
Like Barry said
Could
before. Flag and then we kind of have to get, yeah, what's not going to happen.
And it kind of tied in with me, the reason I kind of asked about Elm and Alden, because I think it was either the last meeting or before that, when we had think Chris had asked about monitors outside at the elementary schools, and I think you said that we did not have enough. And so I'm just kind of tying all that in, like, do we need to get more? And I'm assuming you guys will come to us and say we need to hire more, or it's on there, but we can't find anyone. And along those lines, because teachers used to go out during recess, right, and monitor. Do they not anymore?
I see some teachers out there.
I saw some.
I don't see teachers out there, so I don't know what the rhyme or reason is as to why they may have meetings. So in some cases they may, and in other cases there might be.
That was kind of like my mindset if more stuff's going on at elementary schools, and we do we need more monitors there?
Yeah. During our budget talks, we're taking an inventory of staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, I just wanted to point out with this report, this is created in this format just for the board. So this isn't what the buildings would be using.
Oh,
This is specifically for the board.
summary. for
That's
board.
why it's doesn't have a lot of information.
Got it. Okay.
It's very general, yeah.
In our student.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just pull up one student's records.
Okay.
And we overlay that with
Lily's parents
minutes and grades, like we can actually look at the student, like holistically.
Okay.
We actually call the student address report.
Okay. Okay.
So
All right. That helps. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Request for future agenda items. I'll throw this out to the board. I mean, it was so nice tonight, first of all, to see people.
Yeah.
Second of all, to see, how great our students and teachers are. I would really like to see us do more of this. I don't know how the rest of the
No, me
board,
too.
come in, like the jazz band, come in and do a couple songs or a song, the chorus, the whoever. Because it feels amazing to get back to actually having a little bit of fun at these meetings instead of just whining on about how much money we have to spend on hand sanitizer. Anyway, so I'll throw that out. I mean, I'd really like
No,
it
I
if
would
you
love
guys
that.
could pull that off for us.
That's easy. There's so much to celebrate here.
Okay. Anything else that anyone wants added? All right. Do I have a motion to go to executive session or whatever it says there?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Any against? Okay, so.